leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah group, Hassan Nasrallah, has just delivered his first televised speech since the device attacks that killed at least 32 people across the country. Nasrallah warned that the recent events were, quote, a declaration of war, and said Israel had violated red lines by detonating thousands of pagers, radios, and walkie-talkies. He blamed Israel and the U.S. for the attacks that he called a terrorist act and a massacre. Nasrallah also admitted this week's attacks were an unprecedented blow to the resistance movement, but said Hezbollah will not fall.
How can this criminal act be characterized? It is nothing but a terrorist act. It is nothing but a massacre. And this is the word that we are going to adopt, massacre, to be added to the Israeli enemy's crimes and massacres, perpetrated over decades, since the creation of this cancerous entity in our region. It is an act of war against the people of Lebanon, Lebanon's sovereignty. It is a declaration of war. It is an act of war and can be characterized as such.
Let's bring back in Sultan Barakat, Professor of Public Policy at Hamad bin Khalifa University. Sultan, you were listening to the entire speech right here. Interestingly, and I've heard this before about speeches that are given in this region, generally speaking, whether it's Nasrallah, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu in Hebrew. I have always been told, pay attention to what they say in their own language, right? You're listening to the translation. You're also listening to the Arabic version. Did you hear any discrepancies, anything where you thought, oh, I want to flag this?
Well, in the translation, it referred to him using the word massacre, when in fact, at the beginning, he used the word genocide. And he said explicitly, Israel was aware that there were more than 5,000 of these, or 4,000 plus of these equipments in Lebanon, and they had the intention and the will to kill that many of people in one second. So for him, this was seen as a genocide, as an attack on humanity by Israel.
People were listening to this speech and waiting for this speech to find out how he is calibrating, he's going to calibrate Hezbollah's response to Israel's attacks, right? Is he going to escalate? So Israel clearly escalated with the pager attacks and walkie-talkie attacks on Hezbollah. They did something they hadn't done previously. And I think it's fair to say they really kicked Hezbollah in the teeth. The question going into this speech was, how's Hezbollah going to respond? How's Nasrallah going to respond? What's he going to do with this? Do we actually have an answer?
Not exactly. I mean, we have an answer from him that he's definitely going to come back, but without saying when and how. At the same time, he tried to present it as a partial win for Hezbollah by addressing the objectives or trying to predict the objective of Israel from this attack one by one, and saying, no, they did not achieve those objectives. So he said it was very important for Israel through this attack to divide the society in Lebanon, but they couldn't. Instead, people lobbied with each other, they galvanized around Hezbollah and so on. He said that one intention was to destroy the infrastructure within Hezbollah, and he assured everyone that that has not been badly damaged, and it is far from being destroyed, despite him acknowledging the
Meaning
scale
the
of the
communications infrastructure?
We refer to infrastructure, probably, talking about...
So they're systems, really? Yeah.
Systems, infrastructure, leadership, structures of the movement, that has not been affected. And most importantly, that they have not changed his or Hezbollah's opinion that the war will not stop until the Gaza war stops, that they will continue to engage Israel in the north. And he talked about the benefit of that operation since the 7th of October, in that it has kept busy a considerable portion of Israel's resources. It displaced tens of thousands of Israeli settlers from the north. So he sees all of that as a positive contribution in support of Hamas in Gaza.
Okay, so essentially he's messaging that Hezbollah's strategy will remain the same, continue to attack northern Israel, that of course Hezbollah hasn't been toppled, and that Hezbollah is going to respond. But we don't have an answer to the key question of, well, actually, is Hezbollah going to respond to the point where they trigger a bigger war?
No, we don't. The only thing we know is that he seems to have removed the red lines, because he now says Israel has stepped over those red lines, particularly in relation to the attacks on civilians and attacking deep into Lebanon, as far as it's concerned.
All right, Sultan Barakat, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for that debrief. We're going to be asking all these questions, I think, again and again, getting different voices, different perceptions on this and what it means and where it might be taking us. Sultan, we'll talk to you again as well throughout the afternoon and the evening.
Thank you very much.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.